From first-class hotels, flights to five-star hotels.
Yeah, the I-Team exposes a local professor under investigation tonight for lavish spending while on university business.
Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogalski joins us now with details.
Greg Sherman, well, the big dollar items come from a prof who rubs elbows with big oil, running a research program in tandem with the petroleum industry. Now, critics call his spending excessive, and even the University of Houston itself at times describes it as extravagant. So why then, time and time again, did the purchases sail right on through?
From $50 fillets to five-star accommodations to first-class airfare, UH physics professor Arthur Wegline lives the high life when he's not the one paying.
I do things that are appropriate and serve this university.
But serving the University of Houston means $500 a night hotels when Wegline travels and renting luxury cars like Land Rovers and Audis. His justification? To navigate the steep hills on a San Francisco trip. The steep price? $180 a day. Or when doing research abroad, Wegline must fly first class because of back pain, this doctor's note claims. The price tag? $5,000 to Calgary, for instance, or $9,000 to Brazil.
What that spells is excess, a vision of grandeur.
He's Tom Smitty Smith.
It's need versus greed.
State director of the nonprofit watchdog group Public Citizen.
Professor living a rock star life at the expense of the University of Houston and its donors.
Check out this expense for the creme de la creme of pens, the Mont Blanc, which Wegline has bought $8,000 worth over the years. He says some were gifts for PhD grads, but others were to do handwritten computations.
The answer doesn't come out any different whether you're using a $500 pen or a 29-cent pen from the drugstore.
The message being sent here is what?
We have spent money lavishly and without control.
Wow!
And the reaction on campus?
We're all struggling to buy books and stuff, and then that's what they're spending university funds on. What was missed out on because of this extravagance?
The dumbest thing of all this is the person who's authorizing this.
So we went to the university provost.
Mont Blanc pens.
The Mont Blanc pens, yes.
Dr. John Antel.
What's going on with the Mont Blanc pens?
Actually, that's enough concern for us that there is an ongoing investigation about it.
But what about the other expenses? Some, like the $567 San Francisco hotel, even UH itself called extravagant.
You have someone red flagging the purchase, but it sails on through.
It wouldn't anymore.
I'm not living high in the hog.
But if you ask Arthur Wegline, it's all perfectly okay.
Our funds do not come from tuition. They do not come from federal or state funds.
He says they come from the private sector, mostly big oil, which pumps big bucks into UH for a research program Wegline runs. But
is the university saying that, oh, this is corporate money, therefore it's okay?
No.
The provost says UH has new rules, and any money that crosses university books now must be spent under tight new restrictions. But one thing that isn't changing is all the whining and dining the professor does, like repeated trips to Fogo de Chao, which charges $50 a plate, but the professor doesn't call fancy.
It's a churrascaria. It's not a steakhouse. Okay?
Come on now, Professor.
Come on now, Jeremy.
Come on.
Come on. Where are you coming?
Well, the receipts are coming in at $3,000, $5,000, even more than $8,000 for a group of 70. And as Wegline wrote, it all enhances the research.
Do you think this is the best way to spend money for this research program?
Yes.
You're comfortable with that?
I'm absolutely comfortable.
Or is this just having a good time?
No.
What about all the alcohol?
What about it?
Do you know how much you've spent in alcohol over the years? Do you have any idea?
This conversation's over.
So what's the answer? Well, try more than $17,000 over the past 8 years. And that money is not from big oil, but rather from the Cullen Family Foundation, which declined to comment on the alcohol tab. But through a university spokesman, Wegline claims to have attracted $7 million in grants to the U of H over the past decade. And again, Sherman and Greg, he calls all the expenses, quote, business appropriate and justified. And he says he had prior approval and authorization for all of them.
Okay, and the university is investigating.
And we'll check back with you on the results.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Tonight, the I-Team exposes City of Houston workers loafing on the job.
We're talking about from running personal errands to falsifying timesheets. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogalski says they are failing to do a full day's work for a full day's pay. What'd you find, Jeremy?
Well, Greg Lisa, the Houston Public Works Department calls it dereliction of duty and theft of time. Your time, because after all, it's on your dime.
From fixing our streets to flushing our sewers, the Houston Public Works Department spends $1 billion of your money every year. But
what have you been doing for the last couple hours?
Are you getting what you pay for?
You haven't been working a whole lot now. What's up with that?
The I-Team found dozens of cases of city workers on the clock, but not on the job. See for yourself as we rewind time with this city worker and give you the play-by-play. We spotted him hanging out alone at this drugstore parking lot for nearly 20 minutes. But when he finally drives off, it's not to a job site. He just drives and drives in and out of neighborhoods, up and down the same busy streets. 20 minutes later, the aimless wandering ends near where it began, at this gas station, where yet another 20 minutes go by. And then he drives off again, this time taking the 610 loop around town, past the ship channel, and ending up at the mall, where he kills another half hour at a grocery store. All told, we tracked 2 hours of not working. Then it was quitting time.
What's going on? Is this what taxpayers deserve?
His name is Marcus Este, and he didn't say a word.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
But Public Works spokesman Alvin Wright is talking.
The public demands and expects our employees to be accountable. And so we feel an obligation to make sure that occurs.
And Public Works is turning to technology as an enforcement tool, secretly installing a GPS tracking device on some city vehicles to monitor those it suspects of wrongdoing.
The crackdown has caught a couple of dozen employees in the act. Records show some went shopping on the city clock, places like Academy or Target to look through the CDs. One employee said he went to Burlington Coat Factory to use the bathroom, but for 53 minutes? Others went home on the taxpayer's dime, like Inspector Steve Garcia, who went to his residence 21 out of the 23 days he was monitored, often making multiple trips home the same day.
Does the public deserve better?
Yes, the public does deserve better.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I apologize. I'm totally wrong.
Garcia told us he was checking up on his ailing wife, but even so, the city fired the 27-year veteran.
I was in violation of city policy, and I truly am sorry for what I did.
Where did other city workers go? GPS tracked field supervisor Carlos Ramos to this auto auction. Records show he was bidding on cars for a side business he owns. The city did let Ramos go, but still on the job, the man you've been paying to take care of his horses. That's right, utility worker Keith Perkins admitted he's been going to his stables for the last 2 to 3 years, 2 to 4 times a week, and up to 3 hours at a time. The reaction from neighbors?
Oh, wow. That's gotta be. Yeah! They should be out working doing, what the city is paying them to do.
Instead, the city defines it as theft of time and says workers often falsify daily activity sheets to cover up their misdeeds.
We encourage citizens, if they see our employees not functioning in a proper scheme they're supposed to, record it, give it to us, and we'll take action.
And as for the man we caught on tape goofing off, he took off.
Why are you running from us? Is there any reason why you're running from us? So what eventually happened to that worker, meter reader Marcus Este? Was he fired? Was he suspended? No. Public Works spokesman Alvin Wright says he was given verbal counseling, or, in other words, Lisa and Greg, don't do it again.
Second chance.
Verbal counseling. We saw you hold up the GPS. How long has Public Works been using that?
Yeah, that took off last summer. The city says it's placed the devices on around 60 vehicles and has nabbed about half of those it placed for wrongdoing. But again, many of them are still on the job.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
You bet.
When you think of parking downtown, what exactly comes to mind?
Big headaches and big hassles.
Yes, a real pain to find a spot out on the streets.
Well, in one part of downtown, the I-Team found open spaces are in extra short supply.
And Jeremy Rogalski says Houstonians aren't happy about why, Jeremy?
Well, Lisa, Greg, park downtown and you might have to pony up $8 or more because the only space available is in a private lot or a garage. So what about the cheap metered spaces? Well, we discovered many of them get taken by Houston cops parking their personal cars hour after hour. And the kicker, they're parking for free.
Too many cars, not enough spaces. It's what makes parking downtown like a game of musical chairs on a quest for public street parking instead of a pricey private lot.
It's so expensive.
You don't like to pay.
It costs an arm and a leg, no.
This time, Lucy Duran got lucky and found one of the last metered spots on the block. But guess who gobbled up the rest?
See what's in that windshield?
Yes, sir.
It's a police officer placard, but not on a city-issued vehicle. This is a cop's personal car.
That's not good.
And so is this. And this one, too. In fact, we found HPD officers using that placard again and again on their personal cars, parked everywhere around police headquarters. Here's a couple on Mila. On Clay Street, we counted 1, 2, 3, 4. And one block over on Oak, there's a total of 5, not paying a dime. Like this woman who got to work at 9:30 and left at 3:30, 6 hours later. She works undercover, so we're hiding her identity.
Is that okay for you to just put a placard out and get free parking in your personal vehicle?
The officer didn't have anything to say, and neither did this officer, whose personal car sat for a full 8-hour day.
Must be nice. Park all day, don't have to pay.
Here you go.
Must be nice, huh? Is it fair that you get to park for free and other folks don't, officer?
No, it's not fair.
Lois Holmes was quick to answer that question.
If I have to pay, they should have to pay. But if I don't pay, I get a ticket.
But turns out many of the cars here could have and should have been ticketed under city policy. A policy HPD's top brass even reminded its officers about twice, saying those assigned to work at 1200 Travis Police Headquarters and who receive a parking citation will be responsible for the citation. But there's just one problem. You see, we noticed city parking enforcement wasn't doing any enforcing at all, instead walking right on by.
It doesn't send the right message.
So we had some questions for the city's parking management division.
Why wouldn't they write a ticket?
I don't know the specific reasons why they weren't, but they were definitely violating city code and eligible to be cited. I'm surprised that they weren't.
That's no good.
And what would the city tell citizens who are fed up with parking downtown?
They need to know that we know that there's a problem that we've got to solve, and we're going to solve it.
Well, it's not as if HPD doesn't provide parking spaces for its employees. It does, and even offers a shuttle service to and from remote lots. Shuttles that cost you, the taxpayer, though, more than $400,000 a year. And again, some officers just don't seem to want to use them.
So back to those placards, why have them in the first place?
Well, they can use them on the street, but just temporarily, only for a few hours and only if they're visiting police headquarters. But if they're assigned there permanently to downtown headquarters, they're not allowed to use them, and they're not allowed to camp out there day in and day out.
Right.
Not surprised by the reaction from citizens.
Oh, and a bit of advice. Feed your meter and watch your speed. I don't think you want to get a ticket anytime soon.
Right, yeah.
Will do.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.